Hello friends, I'm Fide instructor Atul Dahale and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, in the 8th round of the Candidates Chess Tournament, the Captain America of chess world, Grandmaster Fabiano Caruana played one amazing game, guys. He grinded down the tournament leader Maxime Vachier Lagrave in one of the most complicated openings, that is the Sicilian Najdorf poison pawn variation. They say then when it comes to the Sicilian Najdorf opening, MVL is one of the best players in the world. But today, Caruana showed that why he is here, and he is here for the kill. Guys, this game is truly amazing. I will not take much of the time. We will be straight going to the game. But before we go further, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you are new here. Caruana was white in this game. MVL was black. The game starts with e4. MVL plays c5, knight f3, d6, d4, c into d4, knight captures d4, knight f6, knight c3 and a6. This is the position, you call it Sicilian Najdorf. Okay, now here he unleashes the move bishop g5. Now here he plays e6 and now f4. MVL has played this opening countless of times and he goes for queen to b6. The pawn on b2 is hanging. What to do in this position? Well, Caruana was well prepared and he has played this opening earlier also, and he dared to give the sacrifice on b2. Well, it is said that when you are going to capture the pawn on b2, it is going to be a poison for you. Why? We are going to see in this game. Well, black captures the pawn on b2, that is the poison pawn. Now white plays rook b1. By giving one pawn, white is getting a lot of pieces in the game. The activity matters in this opening, guys. The more you are active, more it will be better for you. And black usually grabs some material, maybe one or two pawns, but white is ahead in development, and that's what happens in this game. Now he plays e5 move, attacking the knight on f6 and the pawn on d6. Black plays h6 move before capturing on e5. Here bishop is being attacked, so bishop goes to h4 square. He plays d into e5, f into e5. The knight goes to d7 square. Well, now the knight is capturing on pawn on e5. Okay, what to do in this position? Should you save the pawn or should you play some active move? Well, when it comes to Najdorf opening and when you are playing against a player like MVL, you have to play active, guys. So here Caruana plays knight e4. Okay, now he grabs another pawn on a2. Very normal position is going on. This is all theory, guys. The queen might be coming to d5 square. That's why he captures the pawn on a2. Now what to do? Your rook on b1 is attacked, so he brings the rook in the center of the board. Now there are some threats over here. Okay, and knight into e5 looks kind of possible in this position, but this might lead to ultimate checkmate at some point because the knight will go to b5 square. Okay, if you capture here, then obviously queen to d8 is a check and mate. If you don't capture, okay, if you don't capture, let's suppose you play bishop to e7 square, still we can give knight c7 check, king will go here, and now we have this queen d8, amazing queen sacrifice, guys. And if bishop into d8 is played, then rook into d8 will lead to a check and mate. So you can see that the knight really cannot capture the pawn on e5. This is a very tricky opening, guys. I love this opening. So first of all, he brings the queen back in the game with queen d5. He's supporting everything here and he's attacking on these 2 points here. Now we need to support the knight here, so he plays queen to e3. Now black captures queen into e5. You can see that if you count number of pawns on the board, white is actually 3 pawns down. Black is having 6 pawns, okay, and white is having only 3 pawns. But look at the position here. The pieces are super active. Black is yet to develop all these pieces over here on this side of the board, and he's just grabbing material after material. Okay, now Caruana plays c3, supporting the pawn or knight on d4. Bishop c5 is played. Now he attacks the queen with bishop to g3. The queen is attacked, so he plays queen d5. Now what will you play? Guys, the move which was played in this position was truly amazing. I was just blown up when I saw this move, because who will play like this? And it shows that how much deep preparation he has in the opening. Here Caruana plays ultimate move, that is bishop to c4. He is just giving up the piece. For what? I really did not understand when I looked at this position for the first time. I was just puzzled, guys. And now here he's almost forced to capture the piece. He captures the piece and now he plays bishop d6. This is the idea, guys. Now white is threatening to capture the piece on c5, because if you capture here, the knight into d6 and there will be a fork and the queen will be lost. That's quite easy to understand. And after bishop d6, well, computer in this position was showing just to capture on d4, but white will be getting lots of activity. The queen really cannot go here because of some obvious reason, that is bishop into b8 is also there, or we can even play bishop b4. The move is there, and the knight d6 followed by capturing the queen is the threat, and all these pawns and everything, the shelter will be broken very soon. So here queen b3 is one of the best moves. Now white has another good move, that is queen to g3, attacking the pawn on g7. g5 might be played, and now white castles. You can see now black is trying to get the pieces in the game, but he is little bit slow in this position. Bishop c5, again the checkmate threats are there. Knight into c5, knight f6 check, king f8, and the game could have drawn in this position after queen d6, king g7, knight h5, king g8, knight f6, and it would have been drawn. But I don't know, maybe Caruana had something up his sleeves, and we really don't know what was there in this position. So we will wait if somebody else plays bishop into d4 in future. Well, here he decides to give up the piece back. He plays knight to f6. He is not defending the piece. Here Caruana grabs the piece with knight into c5. Knight comes into the center, and now he plays queen e5. Well, this queen is attacking over here, and the pawn on e6 is also being attacked by several pieces. The king is in the center. What to do? Can black defend this position? He is really amazing. So here he plays rook g8, supporting the pawn on g7. And here Caruana plays another beautiful move, that is knight d into e6. Well, white cannot black cannot really capture everything on e6. After this he plays queen into c3, exchanges the queen. But if he captures on e6, then it would have been just a crushing mating attack very soon, like king g8, king d8, and rook into d5 will be coming. Or we can first capture on g8 first, king will come to d7, and now just we can capture on d5, and the king is going to just massacre it very soon, because this rook will also come, and black is not having any shelter. Okay, so he plays queen into c3. Now the game converts into you can say the end game. But even if the end game is there, he plays knight c7 check, king f7, and now any normal player will try to grab the rook on a8. Okay, but Caruana is like his rook on d1 is hanging, so he attacks the knight over here. Knight goes to e4 square. Again, here in this position he could have captured here immediately, but he develops a piece with the tempo. He plays castles in this position, bringing the rook in the game. Ultimate play, guys. Now the king goes to g6 square. Okay, and finally he captures the rook on a8. Now if you see the material, 1 2 3 4 pieces are there from the black side. White is having 1 2 3 4 pieces. White is exchange up in this position, but number of pawns are there more on the black side. Now it becomes a very technical and grinding position, guys, where white's idea is to capture these two pawns at some point and then try to win the game. But even in that position also, it's not at all easy, and you need to play a very long and grinding game. And Caruana does that same thing, only this is just the 28th move, and he keeps on playing. In next 45 moves his opponent gets tired of defense, and then he breaks down his defense and he wins the game. So guys, just stay tuned with me till the end, because this game is truly amazing after this phase also. He plays knight to b6, just bringing the knight in the game. Rook d8. Okay, the bishop is being attacked. He captures the bishop on c8, rook into c8. Now he saves the bishop on a3. Okay, fine. Rook c7. He's supporting everything, the pawn on g7 as well as the pawn on b7 in this case. But now Caruana attacks the knight over here. The knight goes behind on f6 square. Bishop b2 is attacking this knight. Okay, fine, and everything is going on good. Knight e7. Now Caruana decides to exchange one pair of piece over here. He captures bishop into f6, because here it ruins the pawn structure, first of all, one thing. And if the knights are there on the board, then it becomes very tricky position, right? So you have to remove one of the knights from the board. So he plays h4, expanding on this side of the board. h5 is played. Now it's time to exchange this pawn and grab this pawn. So he plays rook g3 check. Now the king is being attacked. King goes to f7 square, and now he plays a very nice move, because this pawn is pinned. It cannot really capture the knight. Rook on g5. Okay, so he gives this rook c1 check. King goes to h2 square. Now knight g6. Okay, the rook on f4 as well as the pawn on h4 are being attacked. So he plays rook to f2. Knight captures the pawn, rook into h5. Okay, the knight is being attacked, so the knight needs to go back, and after rook h7 check, he gets the first pawn on the queen side. So one thing is done, like earlier as I told you, we need to grab these pawns. Okay, so he captures one pawn, rook into b7. Now knight comes into the center, he gives the check. Now he plays rook c6, and after rook c6, okay, the rooks are also exchanged. If you don't exchange the rooks, if you play any king move, then obviously after rook into a6, black will be in big trouble. So instead of going into that position, he decides to exchange the rooks, and pray that okay, he might survive in the position. Now it's time to get this pawn. So he first of all brings the king in the game. This is the first rule which we should always know, that king is the most ultimate piece in the when it comes to the end game. So he plays king to f7, rook c2, attacking the knight, knight b4, rook d2. Look at this, the knight is being controlled by the rook very nicely. Okay, knight c6, king is coming up. King is the most fighting piece in the game and you have to activate your king. Okay, so king g6, rook d6. Okay, the knight needs to give up the pawn on a6 at some point, because the more he goes away from the king, it will be more difficult for him. So he stays near the king. The pawn on a6 is fallen. Now it's time to find out the right plan. And well, Caruana struggled for some time, but ultimately he got the right idea that he needs to get the king's entry into the game, and then only he will be able to win the game by winning the pawn on f6. f6 is the key. If the pawn on f6 stays on the board, then black will just draw the game. So he keeps on playing. He just harasses his opponent's knight and the king, and after some moves, rook g3 check, king e4. Okay, he is finally in this position after king g4, king g6, king f3, king f7, king e4 attacks the knight. And now king f4, knight e4. He finds the winning plan. He plays king f5. Now the king is going to head towards the h6 square, guys. This is the idea, and he finds this idea. Knight gives the check, no problem, king e4, and now he first of all controls the h6 square. When I was looking at the commentary, Carlson was talking about this game, and he said like the knight should not settle on g7 square. If the knight is not settled on g7 square, then the black will be in trouble. And in that case, if the knight is not there, we just need to bring the king. So he plays king g6. Okay, no problem, rook a3. He is just playing for some time, because black really doesn't have any time. If he tries to push the pawn, then the king will be getting the entry with king f4 or king e5 also. So he keeps the pawn on f6 square, king f7, king f4, knight h6, rook g3. This is what I was talking about. Now rook is controlling everything, right? So knight g8 goes, and now the king enters, king g4. Now the king is going to come on h5 square, and black will be in trouble. Knight e7, no problem, king comes in the center, knight d5, rook f3. Okay, knight needs to stay near the pawn on f6 and the king. He plays king e6 in this position, and now he pushes the pawn. He's not in any hurry to play anything, because he knows that knight is not doing anything. The king has already got the space, and the king will be coming on g6 square very soon. But before we come to the g6 square, he first of all pushes the pawn, stops this f5 pawn break. Now king e5, king g6, the pawn on f6 is kind of falling. So here knight f4 is one of the best moves. We can play king f7, staying in the touch of the f6 pawn, king e4, rook f1. Now king e5 will be played, and rook e1 check, king d4, and king f6. White will be just winning. So when king g6 was played, here MVL decided to resign the game, guys. And what a game, guys. Truly the ultimate opening preparation. After that, superior technical stuff, guys, to end down like grind down your opponent. Hats off to Mr. Captain America, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this game. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel. We will be meeting very soon with some ultimate content in this Fide Candidates chess tournament, guys. Keep supporting the channel. See you next time. See you. Bye. Take care.